All right, now what we're going to do is start to build our main content area, and we're going to divide the main content area into different sections. And the nice thing with these sections is then we can set it up so we can maybe have like 3 columns going across and put a little bit of information in those sections, or create what are called articles and put small bits of information. But first of all, it's kind of like how we built a container. And this container wraps around the entire web page, and we put all the information in there. We do the same sort of thing with our main content, where we're going to build a div tag, put in a div tag, and then we put all of our content inside of that particular div tag. So again, as we manipulate and control the main content div tag for different displays, we can actually realign and even hide some of our articles and some of our content when we start to display this on different devices. So let's start off by going back to our file that we've created earlier. This is where we left off. And I'm going to come outside of the nav tag. And this is where we're going to insert our new content. So what I'm going to do is put in a new div tag. The ID for the div tag, in this case, we'll call this demo main. And again, I'm going to give this the role, and the role that I want to give it is going to be our main content. And as always, we put in our closing div tag. And again, good habit to get into is put in a remark statement, closing demo-main. Because there's going to be a fair bit of content that goes in between these 2 tags, so it's good for us to know which div tag is going to close which div tag up above. So this div tag closes this, and this div tag, if we look for the container name, closes this div tag that we see up here. So again, good habit to get into. We're going to now start to build some of this information. And what I want to do is this is another one, and it's going to be called section. And in this section, what I want to do is give it an ID name. So I'll say ID equals, and I'll say demo main hyphen content. And this is how we're going to be attaching a style to this particular section. And of course, always throw in the closing section. Now inside of this section, we're going to repeat what we did up above, where I'm going to have a header and a couple blank lines closing the header tag. And again, here I'm going to introduce another new tag, hgroup. And again, I'm going to put in a closing hgroup. So you can see how we're building the structure for this. So I have a header, and then I have a heading group for this. And I'm now going to put in some like a content. So I'll say heading number 2, and we'll talk about web applications. Close off heading number 2, and then down in here, I can put in heading 3, so you can see what it looks like. Build it once. Deliver everywhere. So just putting a little bit of content in here, and again, /h3. And if I hit the refresh page, you'll see over here how in the design view it's starting to change a little bit. I mean, nothing too exciting yet. So I'll go into the code view so we can see this without it wrapping around. But if you see that, notice that I'm indenting in here. And when you indent, it makes it easier for you to line up your content together. So what I've done is I've made a section in here, and I've added the a header group, and a header, and then within there I have a header group. So we've introduced 2 new tags. Section is one of them, and hgroup, which you can put inside a header group. So this could allow us to have multiple groupings, but usually, for the most part, what I've seen is just the one grouping would be in there. We can introduce another feature inside of here after we have the after we have the closing header tag. And what I'm going to do is introduce this thing called article. And the article, again, we could we can add an ID to it, and that ID would allow us to customize the way that article looks compared to other articles we could have within this same web page. So we'll put in here some content for our article, put in a paragraph. This content was created, and this is another new feature, and it's going to be the time and date time is going to be, and I'll put in the date and the time, so say 2012 dash, we'll put in 11 for November, dash, I'll say 28, just so you know which is the month and which is the day. Obviously having 28 would be for the day. And then closing the angle bracket, and I can say November 12th. Sorry, November 28th is the date that I put in there, comma, 2012, and then we'll put in the closing time, and of course the closing paragraph tag. And again, the nice thing is Dreamweaver built that, or put that in for me, just by putting in that slash. And then I have the closing article. Now what I can do is I can also create, at this point, another article. And of course, make sure you always put in a closing article. So what I can do in here is I can put in maybe a paragraph tag, and then just say something like, and I'm not actually going to go through and add that information, but this is the structure of how we're building things. And again, through cascading style sheets, we can control the layout and the display of this information. I'll just scroll up a little bit, and if we want, we can add another article. And of course, put in the closing article. And again, just going back to using the header tag, we can put this information in, closing the header tag, and then something like H2, heading number 2. Something like that. And so on. So what we're doing is we're building a number of different articles and so forth, and these all fit within the section. And the section that we've defined is kind of like our main section. And if we go into our design view and take a look here at the design view, it's very plain. And it's plain because we haven't gone through and added anything with the style sheets yet. But once we do that, you're going to find that this revamps itself and looks a whole lot different. What we're going to do when we come back now is focus on one more tag of the new HTML5 tags, and that's going to be the footer across the bottom.